Welcome back to another 0 to 60 guys. Today we are back with the FG Falcon that we're going to try and clean up and hopefully make some money on. Now just quickly, before we actually get into the full detail of this beast, one thing that makes a huge difference to the appearance of a vehicle and how easy it is to sell or how good it looks to potential buyers is the clarity of the headlights. It also makes quite a difference for nighttime driving as well. And this FG, they're all prone to it, but it's just got this sort of yellow hazing on the exterior of the Perspex lenses. It happens here all the time, particularly in Queensland. And there's a few different hacks and ways to clean them up, but how Aldi have just come up with the goods. It's incredible. They're about half the price of something similar from Repco or Supercheap. So we thought we'll give it a go and actually test it on this FG Falcon Ute to see if it works and if you guys should consider it for yourself.
It's going to be easier than, well, a lot of people aren't going to have the buff and the tools that we'd normally use to do it, so this is a cheap way to do it at home.
Yeah, that's the thing. We'll, I presume it's going to come with the normal stuff, so we'll crack it open, see what's inside and see what the steps are.
Let's get into it. Okay, so before we get into it, let's crack the box open and see what you get for your 15 Australian dollars in the headlight restoration kit. You get what you get in pretty much all headlight restoration kits. Now, when we had our old business, we used to sell quite a few of the Philips InVision restoration kits, and I have used those a couple of times, and I reckon this is, do you reckon it's a copy of that kit?
It's probably going to be the same thing. Obviously, there might be slightly different ingredient, although probably not. It's going to come with, a few wet and dry grades.
A ton of cloths.
Wow, they don't miss you there.
Which is good.
Yeah, it is good. Gets a bit messy doing the wet and dry if you've got a nice car.
And then we obviously have the headlight polish and the sealer. Now I just want to check what grades of wet and dry they're supplying. We have 2000, okay, quite a lot of 2000. There's 3000. Holy, we've got 5,000.
Oh, okay, this is going to take a while.
So yeah, that's much less aggressive than what we'd normally use on a headlight restoration kit. So 2,000, 3,000, 5,000.
Wow,
I think
it's going to take so long.
It is. Luckily this headlight's not terrible. All right, let's get into actually doing it. Okay, so I guess with any headlight restoration, what you're doing, you're removing the crappy plastic. So you can either polish through with it, which will take forever in some cases, or you can wet sand it. Now the Aldi kit actually does recommend trying just the polish on their first step, and then if the polish doesn't work, go to the wet sand. I've done so many headlights over the years, I know this will not come clear with just a polish. A polish will hide a lot of the marks, but within a month or so it will look just as manky as it does right now. So we need to basically remove all of this pitted and sun-affected plastic and get down to the good stuff. So we're going to start with the wet sanding approach. Now in the Aldi kit it says start with a 2000 grit wet sand, which we're going to do in a horizontal fashion. Once we've done that, we will switch to the 3000 grit, which we will do vertically, and that helps level off any of the wet sanding marks that the sandpaper is going to put in, or wet and dry is going to put in, and then they say to finish it with the 5000 grit. So let's crack on with that.
This is actually what the kit comes with, multiple pieces of 2000, 3000 and 5000 in that size, with a small foam sanding block as well, which, well, it's not very big, but it's good to get into those corners and that sort of stuff. So, it's a pretty simple process.
Why did you put the masking tape on?
Just in case. It's probably not going to be an issue with this little tiny piece of sandpaper and on this car, but just in case, if you do go over the edge of the headlight and hit the paint or the panel or the bumper, you don't make any marks, you just hit the masking tape instead.
I think this kit's going to do it, but normally we would do this with a 400 grit for the first step.
And all of that, I don't know if you can pick it up on camera, but there's like a clear coat on the plastic lens, and that's what deteriorates. And at the top, where it was really bad, it has been ground off with that 2000 grit. But down here, it's still there, so you get a patchy section where it goes from clear to no clear.
I think it needs another hit with that 2000. before we go to the next step, I reckon.
Just keep going then.
All right. Okay, so that's the second hit with the 2000, and I've done it basically just pushing as hard as I could into the lens. Yeah, it's definitely coming clearer. Still a bit of a rough section. I'd really like to just hit this with some aggressive wet and dry, but because we're not going to be machine polishing this to a finish, I guess we don't want to put too many grooves in there. I think onto the 3000. Okay, so this is the 3000 grit. I'm just about coming to the end. Now, doing the vertical motion is a hell of a lot more time consuming than being able to go across the headlight. Obviously, you don't have as much movement. Yeah, and basically all I'm doing with this, you can actually feel through the sand or the wet and dry, you can feel when you've gotten through the roughness that the 2000 has put in there, surprisingly. Yeah, so it's just a matter of getting all around the headlight, making sure you've got a consistent finish with the 3000 grit before moving on to the 5, because if you don't smooth this off enough, going on to the next step will be a waste of time. Now, you may have seen in the time lapse, we did do a fair bit of this without the foam block. And it's just because it's such a light grade of wet and dry, you can just push harder without that foam absorber in there to try and get through the nasty bits earlier. But for finishing this step and the next step, we will use the foam block just to make it a more even finish. And I reckon that will just about do.
Did you see the GP was cancelled?
So that is all. It does look better than it did with just the 2000, but you've still got a clear line where we've worn through the clear coat. It'll be interesting to see how it looks with the final finish. All right, on to the 5000. It almost looks like it's had a polish.
It almost does. That is by far the finest.
In all the headlight restorations we've done, we've never used 5000 grit before.
Yeah, and it's left such a smooth finish. I don't think that's going to need much. For example, one spray of water.
Looks glossy.
Yeah, it starts to gloss straight away. So I think with there's still 2 steps left in the kit. You've got to polish it and you've got to seal it. So we'll get onto that now, but I'm thinking that even though there's no machine and it's just by hand, it's not going to need much of a polish to put a gloss onto that, give it a shine over, and then with the sealer added on top as well, it should look pretty good, I reckon.
All right,
let's hit it.
Okay, so it's had 2 coats with the polish, and it's definitely not perfect, but it is better. So we'll apply the sealant, and we'll see how much that hides of the remaining imperfections in the headlight.
Is that going on pasty like the polish was?
No, this almost feels like a moisturizer.
Really? Okay.
It's very, very thick, very, very waxy, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That was only a small dab.
But it spread the entire way.
It does not smell like a car polish in any way.
Did you grab your moisturizer bottle instead?
So, if this was in a hotel kit, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, from back here, that has put a bit of a shine on it.
Cool. All right.
But we've definitely done better headlight restos. Oh, it feels nice. Feels like a new headlight with that sealer on it. Got it.
All right, so Dave, that is the protectant on, and it's
not yellow anymore.
But it's not clear.
It's not. There's still light pitting in the lens.
It's definitely better, but I'm not happy with that. And I think, we were just talking off camera, this is because the wet and dry they provide is not aggressive enough. And this has taken 45 minutes to do one headlight, like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and it's one headlight not very good.
Yeah, I think let's go back to the normal way to do it, hit it with some more aggressive wet and dry, a machine polish, and see what it looks like.
Yeah, in hopefully a lot less time.
Let's get on to that.
Okay, so this time we're going to hit it with a 400 grit, whereas that Aldi kit, the most aggressive it came with was 2000. I'm thinking probably go 400, 800.
I think just machine it after the 800.
After the 800?
Yep.
Then, and with the machine, we'll use a rotary buff and a cutting compound polish. So, see what that looks like.
That is you have got a little bit of soap in there, haven't you, to help with lubricity or whatever the word is?
Exactly. So yes, there is a little bit of lubrication. And just touching on it quickly, the reason why we were swapping people in that last video is because the sandpaper that came in the Aldi kit was so fine.
You're pushing so hard and doing it for so long.
You're actually getting a dead arm.
Oh.
So yeah, after all that effort, it still wasn't as good as it could be.
Anyway, let's switch to the time lapse. So that is the 400 finished.
You can see it's definitely roughed that surface up. It looks a bit hazy now.
Very hazy. So you reckon straight onto the 800?
Yeah, I think we'll hit it with that 800.
All right.
That above.
Back to time warp. Okay, that was another 3 or 4 minutes of the 800.
That was much less effort than the Aldi kit, and that's made one hell of a difference. Now the blend from where the old stuff has come off to the new stuff is smooth.
Basically, you've chewed into more of the plastic lens.
Yes, yeah, so it's taken away all those little bumps and imperfections, and now it just looks like a flat piece of glass, which is what you want for light reflections and yeah, for it to look good.
And even if there are stone chips and that sort of thing still in there, the buff will actually help round the edges off, which again will make them a lot less noticeable as it melts the plastic into perfection. So, set it with the buff.
Let's get the buff.
I just wanted to show you how fogged up that is after the 400 and the 800 grit. But yeah, that, as Dave's saying, that means we've basically worn through all of the roughness, and now with the old school rotary buff. Now that's actually, it started life as a medium to hard pad, not a hard pad, but it's probably, I'd probably call that a soft pad, the amount of wear that it's got on it. And that is a medium grade cutting compound. It's not something you can get over the counter, it's actually an AutoSmart product. It's an old product as well, R2. Normally I'd probably like to do it with something heavier, but this is the heaviest we've got here today. So,
I think she'll be okay. You ready?
Yep. So that's the buffing done. I'm just going to get all, because I'm buff, just choose the masking tape up, which we don't need because there's no more sanding going on. And actually, I'll put that in there, stick it there. Gonna need to get in there and get the compound out with a proper wash, but the actual glass, well, plastic, polycarbonate lens.
Looks like a new one.
Yeah, apart from the stone chips in it, which obviously you could, if you had enough time, you could thin the lens right down, but I think for the visual effect of when you stand back at the car, these are gonna be as black as they were when they were new.
Nice and shiny.
Yeah, cool. Now that has taken 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's a much, much better finish than the Aldi kit. Again, it's not as easy for everyone who doesn't have a buff. And just to finish this video, I'm just gonna buff this one. Just buff, no wet and dry. and we'll see what that looks like. So that is just 5 minutes with a buff. You can still see, got a little bit of hazing, but straight on, it's definitely added some depth and darkness to the headlight. I might still wet and dry this one, depending on how excited we get about selling the car.
Will this one come up bloody... This has got the... I ended up putting a ceramic coat on it, but to give it some UV protection. But that looks awesome.
Yeah, and now that was 15 minutes work doing it the normal way that we do them, not the Aldi way. And it's a hell of a lot better.
I wish we'd just done that rather than go through all those Aldi steps.
And even that side, just with the machine buff, does get a better result than the Aldi, which is a bit of a shame, because like I said at the start of the video, we used to sell those in Vision kits, and they had a resin that you would top the glass with, and that would hide a lot of the imperfections.
Yeah, to fill in a lot of cracks. And
where Aldi is using some sort of, it just feels like moisturiser. It smells like moisturiser, so it's not working as well. So, would you recommend the Aldi kit, Dave?
If you are in a bit of a pickle and you are trying not to spend any money at all and you don't have a buff, then yeah, sure, it does make a difference.
And I think you would get that result with the Aldi kit. It just might take 4 to 5 hours.
Days.
Yeah. And maybe you could speed it up if you just got some more aggressive.
That's what I would recommend. If you do really want to get the Aldi kit, because they are cheap, just go to Repco or Supercheap and just grab another sheet or a couple of sheets of wet and dry and a bit more aggressive, and that will help speed up the preparation stages.
Yeah, even if you did it with some 400, 800, and then the 2000 maybe with the Aldi kit.
Yeah.
It might get a similar result, but we were running out of time. Anyway, so that's that video all done. It was an unexpected video, but the headlights are now looking good.
Yeah, the front of the car is actually looking a bit better now.
I think we just got to get on with the actual detail, which is going to be a separate video. So if you want to follow the Falcon project, please hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace, guys.